Family Affairs, how to prepare to pass your farm on to the next generation. Fire funding, the call by the U.S. Forest Service to act before it's too late. And bringing back an old sport, how an FFA member is keeping pheasant hunting popular through his SAE project. And thanks for staying with us here on the Market Day Report, brought to you by Ariat. Good morning, I'm Janet Adkison. Well, for those farm families and ranch families who intend to keep it in the family, a significant amount of estate planning is required. An essential part of the transition plan is a buy-sell agreement. Well, Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law joins us now for a further look in today's Rural Money segment. Roger, as always, thanks for your time here today. So what are maybe a couple general elements of buy-sell agreements?
Well, basically, Janet, what we're talking about here is an agreement that's designed to protect the business co-owners in the event somebody departs. And so we're trying to keep those business interests inside the family. And I think the basic elements that farmers need to think about is, what should the method of the buyout be? Will that entity be the one that redeems the departing owner's interest, or will the remaining owners do it? And what triggers the buyout? Death is an obvious situation that triggers the buyout, but what about retirement, disability, divorce, a whole host of things? We need to think through those as to what might be a triggering event. And then, of course, how are we going to fund it? It has to be made operational, so we have to think about how we're going to fund it.
Now, I understand these agreements are generally of three types. What are those?
Well, we can have a type where the entity buys the interest back, and that would be a contract between the owners and the business itself. That's a redemption agreement, or it could be a cross-purchase agreement, which is a contract amongst the owners themselves. And the company's not necessarily a party to the agreement, or we could have a hybrid of the two, so we could blend those two together.
Are there any alternative approaches to keep in mind?
Well, there is. The corporation could buy life insurance, buy a policy on the life of each stockholder with the corporation as the policy owner, and the corporation pays the premiums and be the beneficiary of the policies, and then use that to finance the purchase of the buyout at the end of an option period, or buy out the deceased stockholder's interest. Alternatively, we could use insurance and have a shareholder buy and pay for and be the beneficiary of a life insurance policy for each of the shareholders. So we could use life insurance. We could either have the corporation own it, or we could have the shareholder own it.
And Roger, what are maybe some of the advantages and disadvantages of those buy-sell agreements?
Well, that's a really good question. If you have a well-drafted buy-sell agreement, again, that is designed to prevent the sale or other transfer of the business interests outside the family unit, and that's what it will do. On the downside, depending on how it's structured, you can get into some tax complications. So you have to be very careful with these. You need to have real good tax and legal counsel to put these together.
So all things considered, Roger, what would you say is maybe the big takeaway as folks, as they're starting this process, or maybe they've already considered some other options?
Well, I think a well-drafted buy-sell agreement is just about as important as is a well-drafted will or a trust, if your objective is, or if a major objective is, to keep that farming and ranching business in the family for subsequent generations. It is an absolutely essential, critical part of a family business succession plan. So if that's what you're wanting to do, you need to consider a buy-sell agreement.
Roger, on a separate kind of note, like ag teachers and large animal veterinarians, lawyers in our small town communities, those are kind of thin to come by. Any suggestions for finding somebody who can help walk us through this process?
Well, I get that question all the time, and I probably get it 2 or 3 times a week from farmers and ranchers across the country. And I know a lot of people. I travel coast to coast, and so I come into touch with a lot of practitioners at seminars. And so people can feel free to email me or call me. They can find that on my website. And I can point them in the right direction. Otherwise, the State Bar Association, if you ask for a section maybe on business law, tax law, transactional law, dealing with farmers and ranchers, they might be able to give you some advice there.
All right. Well, Roger, as always, thanks for the advice this morning. Roger McEowen, he's with the Washburn School of Law. You can go online to washburnlaw.edu/WALTR for more information. Again, Roger, thank you.